Hi everyone, Ryan Urbino here. I just recently saw the images that NASA released from the James Webb Space Telescope. Just a really impressive feat of engineering for us to put that telescope up in the sky, which that brings me back down to earth with data and analytics and platforms for value-based care. And why is this so difficult? What capabilities do you need to stay competitive? And you'd think if we could, put this telescope up in the sky, 3 times as far from the Earth as the Moon is, you'd think this would be a little bit easier, but unfortunately it's not. And I'm going to dig into some of the components that are associated with these platforms that you need to consider to stay competitive in this market. So the high level answer is that you need a lot of stuff in order for it to be successful with analytics and value-based care. And you may have heard me discuss some of these components prior, with data warehousing and data enrichment. But I think the other thing that comes to play is there are just a lot of kind of nuanced components of this overall process that are really important and make for a lot of failure points. So whether you're trying to do this on your own or you're trying to look for other solutions with outside vendors, you need to make sure that you're handling all of these capabilities and that they're orchestrated with each other in harmony. The starting point that many people think through when they're thinking about these really starts with business goals. And starts with those high-level business goals, perhaps related to value-based care performance, quality, risk adjustment, cost and utilization, predictive analytics, other fee-for-service value drivers. But then translating those kind of high-level value drivers to, what point-of-care workflow tools do you need? What care management workflows do you need? Data visualization, dashboards, reports, distribution, patient outreach, but all of these things to actually drive action, drive change. And I think that a lot of these capabilities are sometimes easier to evaluate because you can compare features from one solution to another or understand what you might do internally. And there's a lot to consider. There are a lot of details, but it's a little bit more tangible for the end user than kind of some of the underlying capabilities of your data platform. That brings us to everything else that's kind of under the hood, but immensely important for your overall success. So say you take provider attribution, for example. This looks kind of benign at face value. You're just trying to attribute patient performance to a provider or a group of providers. And for anybody that's tried to do it, it's actually a whole lot more challenging than people realize and a common point of failure. And I think the same could be said for many of the other kind of boxes that I have on the screen here, but related to your master patient index or natural language processing of data or your data lake or warehousing, making sure your warehouse actually is optimized and enriched for the kind of end use cases that you're looking to achieve. And what this boils down to is you have a lot of points of failure. If many of the capabilities here are not working properly, your whole solution might not work properly. So to have kind of a weakest link type of perspective in looking at this, that you are only as good as your weakest link, that's really how you need to look at a lot of these capabilities. And I think why you see a lot of failed implementations out there as well is there's just so many interdependencies and so many things that you need to get right for all of this to work properly. And orchestrating all of this is something that I think requires a decent amount of attention. Whether you're trying to do this internally with multiple teams and resources, or if you're trying to hire a vendor just to pick up, one or two parts of the pie here. But how do you orchestrate all of those activities together? You need to move massive amounts of healthcare data. So security is clearly of immense importance, and just raises a lot of challenges. And one from just will it work, two from a performance perspective, three from a security perspective. Perhaps I should flip those around. But you get the idea that it's not easy to be able to do all of these things in conjunction with one another. And even if you have very solid capabilities in different parts of your process, If they are not working together, then the solution will not work. So the main takeaways are that you need to plan for all of this. And if you want to build some of this internally, do you have the resources and capabilities to support all of these different components? Or do you need to look for vendors to fill in some of the gaps? And if you are looking for vendors to support some of these point solutions, how is everything being orchestrated? Is it all going to fit together? Is it secure? Or do you consider a best of breed platform like Arcadia that's kind of solved all of these problems and the interdependencies that are associated? And, I would also make the argument that going with a solution like Arcadia might be more cost effective when factoring in time, direct costs, resourcing constraints, abilities, to scale, how strong is the solution from a technical standpoint, and ultimately how performant you are. If you made it this far, thanks so much for watching this, and I hope you found it helpful. Please let me know what you think, or if there's other things that you think are important to consider. Also, if you're interested in talking through this in relation to your specific organization, let me know, and we could find a few minutes to talk it through. But thanks so much for listening, and have a great day.